Welcome to another episode of Until It's Done, a devoted podcast. I'm your host, Dana Lynn Kay, and I have a very special episode for you guys today. I have two guests here. They are the women of Team Loud. This is you guys. It's actually it's a coaching team,
yes.
And you guys coach all different levels of coaching. So we're going to go into that later. But anyway, I have Steph Rinaldo, who has been here before.
A lot of times.
And I have Bailey Whitmore. This is her first appearance, but this is going to be a 3-part series. So 3 weeks in a row, you guys are going to get, because we have so much to share, so much great information, knowledge. Like we've kind of come up with 3 topics of the most frequently asked questions I think are going to be covered in these 3 series. So anyway, this is the first part of the 3-part series. So welcome, ladies, to the show. So Bailey, we're going to start with you since this is your first time. I want you to introduce yourself. Tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do and how you got to do it, like started doing it.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Bailey. Thank you for having me, Dana. I have been working with Team Loud for almost 5 or 6 years. I've lost count. I've been a personal trainer since 2017, 2016, so about the same amount of time. But I started competing in bodybuilding. That's kind of how I got started in fitness after a couple of years of weightlifting. Got into bodybuilding, then kind of fell into coaching myself after doing my own competitions, and then came on the whirlwind of all the struggles that come from competing, the yo-yoing, which we'll talk about, all that rebound, all that fun stuff, plus just growing up when we grew up in our society and all that kind of stuff. So I was a coach kind of on that more like mainstream trajectory of like, here's your nutrition, here's your macros, here's your workout, like blah, blah, blah. And then I really got into like, oh, there's something else happening here, like from my competition, like something mentally is like causing things from or stopping things from being sustainable, from being just realistic. So I kind of started leaning into that a little bit more. I have a degree in psychology, so I started kind of deep diving into those kinds of things to help women in particular who are stuck yo-yo dieting or stuck with really a poor relationship with food, and they feel like they're trapped in that cycle, whether it's stopping them from maintaining their weight or they just feel like they're always restricted and always feeling like something's off and they have to like, bust their ass to really stay where they want to be. So now that's what I do. I still do the online coaching. I still, do all the nutrition and workouts and stuff. But now I've kind of focused in on women who struggled with the same kind of rebounds and yo-yoing that I was struggling with.
Which is exactly why I was excited to have you on.
Yeah.
That's been a common theme in my platform, because I've opened up even on a podcast episode about my lifelong struggle with emotional eating, binge eating, food addiction, all of those things. And it all starts in your head.
Yes.
It's mental things. And once I was able to fix all of that was going on in my head, things with me, my relationship with food and my health and my fitness, everything shifted, everything changed because all of that craziness going on in my head, it was like it was all going into, my regimens and my, my relationship with food. So I got really excited to hear about your program.
Yes.
I've been following you for a long time. I love all the content that you put out on your platform. But then to hear that you developed this program called Friends with Food.
Yes.
Friends with Food. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a tool.
Yes.
Which is what I love. I love it when we're able to offer people solutions. I mean, we can talk about our problems all day long, but when you can offer a solution. So your Friends with Food program, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So it kind of came out of, like I said, my own rebounding after competition and just feeling like food was the enemy. Like, I can't eat this, it's going to make me fat, or I can't control myself around this specific food, and just being out of control and feeling like we had to always be on guard around what we were eating. But then you see other fit people and this seems like effortless for them. They're eating what they want, and you're like, what the hell? And I think I found like this gap of people are like, everybody on the internet is giving out education, information. Here's what you should eat. Here's what you should lift. Here's what you should do activity wise. But people don't really talk about how do you make that a sustainable lifestyle. And like you said, it starts in your head. You have to come to terms with the fact that this is not going to be a 6-week diet or a 6-week whatever. And if you are like a little bit successful in those kinds of things, like, can you maintain that? And so many people who are coming to me, said, like, I've tried these diets and they didn't work. I lost weight, but I gained it back. And they're just kind of cycling through that yo-yoing. So Friends with Food is a 4-week group coaching program where we dive into everything fat loss related, but from the context of the foundation of your fat loss progress and being able to maintain that fat loss for the rest of your life without having to diet, without having to yo-yo up and down, like maintain the body that you actually want. That's going to start with that relationship with food, because there are so many key elements of what cause us to fail, and they all come back to mindset. Every single one of them comes back. I mean, there are physiological elements of, what happens to our body when we're dieting, but those physiological elements are happening because of something in your head is making you behave in a way that is damaging to your body, and we're not eating enough. So, and all those kinds of things. So Friends with Food is a 4-week group coaching where we go through absolutely everything that you need to be successful in your fat loss, both with, like, there's a week on Fat Loss 101, like the nutrition that you actually need to be educated on, not like a fad diet, not don't eat this, don't eat this, but here's how you can eat everything that you want and be sustainable. So it's 4 weeks all encompassing of our relationship with food. What does that look like? What is that? What are the mental blunders that usually cause us to regain our weight and rebound? And why are we starving ourselves? And why aren't we eating enough? And what are our false beliefs that we have? And then just kind of blasting through all that with tools. So there's homework that people have to go home and they have to eat triggering foods that they might be like, wait, I don't want to eat this. Like, this is terrifying. I'm going to go all out. But I have such a high success rate with that exercise in particular, because I think just educating about the relationship with food, people aren't aware of it. They think, oh, I'm just not disciplined enough. I just need to try harder. But there are pieces of, like, how we can relax into it, if that makes sense, and be friends with food to where it does feel effortless and we can eat what we want.
It makes total sense.
Yeah.
It is. And it's crazy how, I do hear so much, and I see so much on social media about people being scared of carbs and being scared still. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I have a whole thing with my philosophy. It's like, I believe that you can be in a nutrient, when, some people choose foods that, like, I understand the whole thing about the calorie deficit thing, but it's like they want to eat less, but they're not choosing the right foods.
Right.
And they're not choosing the right foods to feel satisfied. Mm. And then that also throws them back into that cycle again.
Yes.
And they're also not eating the right, like, enough nutrients, nutrient dense food. And so
they're hungry all the time.
So they're hungry. And right. And so, and it all comes back to education. Mm-hmm. It really does. So often I'll be speaking to somebody, I'm like, this person just, because they just don't know.
Yeah.
And so a course like this, I think it's such a phenomenal tool for people who are struggling, because a lot of people do also feel just lost. Mm-hmm. Like, where do I start?
So
what's okay?
Yeah.
And oftentimes when you're finally given the okay, like, it's okay to eat rice.
Yes.
It's okay to eat, some pasta.
Yeah.
It's okay to, like, put those things in your diet. You're not, but it's like, sometimes people are just conditioned to think that's a bad food.
Yeah.
It's carbs, it's bad. But then once they run through a program like yours and they're like, they understand, like, no, it's okay. Like, this can fit into my life.
Yes.
And then also make educational decisions as far as, like, okay, I'm going to eat this pasta, but I also need to add vegetables to this meal. And I also need, it's a 4-week program.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what's the second week look like? I know you, I've seen a breakdown where you talk about, the black and white thinking, which is that when I saw that in the breakdown, I was like, oh, I can relate to black and white thinking.
Yes. Week 2 is like the heavy hitter. Week 1 is kind of just introducing everything, introducing terms, kind of taking stock of our own relationship with food, getting to know everybody, because it's a small, like, cohort. So people are all in the same boat. They get to know each other, that kind of thing. Week 2 is like the heavy hitter. It's like we're going into deep diving, emotional eating, black and white thinking, like all those things that lead to this yo-yoing that happens. So what was the question?
Well, the black and white thinking, because like I was saying, with me, it used to be where my day would start great and I'd have meal 1, and whatever it was, and I'd have my snack and I'd have my lunch, but then all of a sudden I would
eat a muffin and then the rest of the day.
Yeah, I would.
done.
Yeah, I would suddenly, somebody would bring something into the office, and I'd say,
Right.
"Oh, like I'll have a piece of the donut, and I'll have what," and all of a sudden, I'm like, "Oh, I screwed my whole day up. Screw it!" And then the rest of my day is like out the window because I'm like, "Well, I already messed up the whole day. What does it even matter?" Then I'm not even going to work out because who
Right.
cares? Because my diet's all screwed up, and it starts, and then it's like, "Well, I'll start fresh tomorrow."
It's completely black and white.
That's the black and white.
Yes.
and I've been there a billion times.
And there's a ton of examples, like you said earlier, like people think that the carbs are bad, like this food is bad. That's an example of black and white thinking. Like food is not good or bad. And that's kind of the first thing that we talk about in that week too, is like what I want everyone to know about any food is there is not a single food that is good or bad, not a single one. Everything there's a gray area. There's context to everything. And so we talk about how to work in that context. And I always talk about the gray area, like get out of the black and white. Something is better than nothing. Like you said, like people just don't work out because they can't do something, so they don't do anything.
Right.
And we talk about that gray area. We talk about working things in a way that fits both your goals and your psychology, because we want to eat the treats. We want to eat what sounds good, but how can we do all of this in a way that's not black and white? How can we work all of it in a way where we feel good about our choices, both physically and mentally? So we're working towards our goals and we feel like I do have freedom to eat something. I'm not, starving. I'm not not allowed to eat something. So it's all about gray area. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle, is because like a lot of us who have this poor relationship with food, we came from we're perfectionists. At least for me, I'm a recovering perfectionist.
Perfection. Like that's what we're aiming for, is perfection.
Yes. And we get the reinforcement that perfectionism works, because it does in the short term. We do a strict diet. We're really tight on it. We're perfect. Wow, we see amazing progress. Let's keep doing that.
Yep.
But in the long run, it kind of is counterproductive to that mindset, and we get stuck in the perfectionism. So the hardest part about finding this real balance in between where people are happy is you have to ditch the perfectionism, because, perfectionism is complete black and white. And if they want to do it perfectly, they're like, how can I be friends with food perfectly? Am I doing balance right? Am I doing it perfectly?
Right.
But it's different for everybody. There is no perfect. So that's kind of the hardest part, but that's everything that we dive into, is like, what is your gray area going to look like for you? And how can you make it work for you in a way that feels good mentally and physically?
And I think we've talked about the gray area a lot over the years, and it's a beautiful, beautiful place to be. Mm-hmm. It really is. I love gray.
Yeah. We're just talking about it on the ride up here.
It's wonderful. You don't feel like you're constantly 2 steps behind or trying to push ahead when you don't have it in you. The gray area is just where you feel good, you look good, and you're living a life. It takes a while to get there, though.
Yeah, it takes the work, which is kind of
It does. I've just arrived in the gray area in my 40s.
It takes a lot of work.
Took me about 7 years to get there almost.
Yep.
So
yeah, and hopefully Friends with Food gets people there faster, because like my mom too, she's a client, and she's in her mid 50s now, and I had to help her with this. I had to get her to a place in her 50s where she felt like, okay, I'm good now. I don't need to binge out. I don't need to overeat. I can eat flexibly. I can eat what I want, and I can eat in a way that feels good. And I don't have to eat it all today. The food will be there tomorrow. Mm-hmm. That's like my favorite phrase. I tell everyone is the food will always be there. I say it's going to be there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
because how many times have you opened up a bag of, for me, pretzels? I have to finish this whole bag today. Do I?
Yeah. Black and white thinking. You have to finish all.
Oh, I had 5. I'm just going for the whole thing. So
yeah, or why not? Screw it. I'll just
tomorrow's a news day, and it's just like you could just save your mental so much. Screw the calories. It's the mental.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get there because you have to let go a little bit of the black and white. And that's hard because we cling to the progress that comes with that perfection. But once it becomes counterproductive, we have to let go of it. Mm-hmm. And there might be a period where you're a little bit uncomfortable, because I might tell people like, hey, now is not the time for fat loss. Like, you might need to eat more to get to your goal. And that confuses people. They don't want to do it. So there might be a period where like, it's not comfortable. And that's how I stumbled upon the whole thing. Like, I wasn't like reading on relationships with food. I stumbled upon it myself because I realized like, hey, after a few months of eating my ass off, of eating whatever I want and being flexible, I'm not food focused anymore.
Yeah.
And there are different components that lead to that. But the big mental piece is that, well, yeah, you're not restricting anymore. So now your brain isn't like, oh, we need all of this. So now once I actually did dive into research a little bit, and it kind of backed up everything that I was saying in Friends with Food, is the gray area is the best to stay fit. The more we try to cling to the perfection, the worse off we're going to be in the long run every single time.
Yeah, that's been a big thing for me, letting go of perfection.
Yeah.
I've always I'm so hard on myself. I set my standards so high. I want this perfection all the time. And when I finally let go of that, I mean, I was kind of blessed in the situation that the man who I'm with now, he has taught me things that I balance. And he's taught me where like, he'll still get in like a quick workout, like even because I used to think like if I can't get in my whole planned workout, I'm not going to do it. The day's over. I missed my opportunity. Like he'll be like, oh, I've got a call for work, whatever. Okay, he'll go into the garage. He'll do 50 pull-ups. He'll do a few deadlifts or whatever. He comes in. He's like, all right, and I'm like, you were in there for 10 minutes. He's like sweating. He's like, yeah, I got in a quick workout. I'm going to go take my call. I'm like, that was your workout? Yeah. And he's like, look, I can't always fit in a full workout. And I'm like. So like now,
mind blown.
Or he'll just go run a quick mile, and I'm thinking like, you could just run a quick mile, and he's like,
there was no preparation. He didn't have to psych himself up. I have a
plan it in. He just
I have 15 minutes. I'm going, and
I'm going to do my work, and that's going to be my workout for today. And it might not be my ultimate, but it's also not. It's not nothing.
Right.
But he's like, I did something, and it's like I've learned now. And then he's also the type where. I'll see him, like, say we eat like a really big meal, like I don't know even what it is, whatever this big meal is. Sometimes we get home and he'll still like want to say like, oh, let's just go for a walk. Let's do what, when normally I'd be like, let's just sit on the couch and just swallow in our big meal. Like he'll just be like, oh, I'm going to go walk the dog like a couple miles or, whatever. And I'm just like, okay. And it's like, okay, it's not like the day's lost just because we just slammed all this food for a holiday or whatever the heck we did. And I'm like, I like that. I like
Isn't
that
it
he's
beautiful?
still, yeah.
It's really nice.
It's like you're not throwing in the towel saying, oh, I failed.
It keeps you consistent to be able to say like, okay, I only have 10 minutes. So I'm just going to do this little thing. Even if like logically, this isn't going to put a dent in my physique. This isn't going to do anything for me today. But if you're somebody who struggles with black and white and you struggle with that consistency, 10 minutes is just enough to tell your brain, hey, I worked out today.
And I was just going to say
you didn't break that chain.
Every time you throw in the towel, like what's that doing mentally? You're going to think that you don't have a place in fitness. You don't think you're going to start believing that you don't have what it takes to be consistent or fit or, have maintenance or any of that. If you keep every day having to telling yourself, I threw in the towel. Today was another wash.
And it's self-care too.
Right.
Some
Mentally,
nights,
yeah.
It's so funny. Some nights I'll go to get ready for bed and I'll hear somebody like talking downstairs and I'm like, what is that sound? Greg will go turn on the Peloton yoga and he'll do a 10-minute yoga right before he joins me in bed. And he's like, oh, I'm just doing a 10-minute yoga. He just does that for himself as self-care before bed. He's like, I just want to do a quick stretch before yoga, before bed. And I'm like, I wouldn't think like, wow, like he just got in his yoga because he's like, I didn't stretch today, so I just need something. It's like people who just fit it in quickly. It's 10 minutes. And I'm like, why is he so smart that he knows to do those little things where he makes the time? Like and it's like, it's about making that time or not making that excuse, prioritizing ourselves,
and Greg and someone like Greg makes it look very easy. His fit maintenance lifestyle is very easy for him. I think it's because of how he was brought up and his parents. And obviously he's not a woman. We were told a lot of different things.
Yes.
Especially all of us have struggled with weight at some point. Not one of us sitting at this table has had an easy fitness lifestyle.
No.
Up until probably this point. I think this is the easiest, minus my pregnancy. But up until this point, I think that we've all had to go through the trenches and figure things out for ourselves because it wasn't like all three of us never have to try for what we want and to remain fit and to get to the place of maintenance, right? Like it just didn't come easy to us. I do think it comes easy to some people like Greg because that's been his lifestyle his whole life.
Yeah.
Like,
well, he was born an athlete. Like
he was
3
born
years
an
old.
athlete. His parents are very active. He didn't ever struggle with obesity or anything or have to worry about that. But he also was never like a binge eater. He wasn't like a type of guy that was so food focused either.
Right.
When you have a history like us, it does take a little bit of time and a lot of mental rewiring. And a course like Bailey put out, it kind of hits on these pain points. Like, look, you got to look a little bit deeper into why you see a Snickers bar and you have to have 3 days of binge eating because you had one Snickers bar when you could have just had your Snickers bar and left it alone and saved yourself the next 3 days of binge eating and thousands upon thousands of calories. Look deeper. There's a deeper reason for this usually.
And it's funny because that is a lesson where I know on social media, we'll see where there's a lot of like memes and jokes about where women will struggle all week to lose a pound. And then their husband will be on the same, would be like, oh, I'm grinding too. I lost 12 pounds this week. And we're like, what?
Because they're not thinking about it like that.
Women and men are different. And then some men don't struggle. It's like all of a sudden, if they just clean up their act, the weight starts falling off. And so, but there are some of us, with women, because we constantly with the different, also there's so many plans out there and diet things, and the women are always kind of drawn into what's next. And everybody's doing paleo now, and everyone's doing Whole 30, and then keto, and then who's doing this, and like the women all kind of listen to their friends. And I don't know that men really do they talk like that?
They talk shop.
We talk about this stuff like, oh, I'm on keto. Oh, well, you are. Oh, I've lost 12 pounds.
Oh, let me try.
And then all of a sudden we're on this like next thing.
The guys are like, I got a new car.
Guys go out, they have a beer, they're having they're grabbing a pizza. I don't think they're sitting there talking about diets. They're not talking about.
They might be like, I bench 200 now.
The plastic surgeries, they're not talking about all that stuff. So for us, it's like we're so body focused, food focused, lifestyle, like beauty, like all the stuff. So for women, and then all of a sudden. Yeah, with the comparisons, you're thinking like, oh, she doesn't eat bread anymore. She cut out carbs. Like, wow, look at her.
She fasts. Why aren't I fasting?
And she lost 25 pounds. So like, it must be working for her. So I'm not going to do it too. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're on this like next crazy train.
And they don't last very long, right? Like,
no, that's why it's a crazy train. Like it's going to crash.
On and off, on and off, on and off. Let's try something new. Let's try
all those things are not sustainable. It's not lifestyle.
And every single time when you regain weight after those things, you're further locking into your head that those foods are bad. Because if you go on keto or you give up bread or something and you lose weight like your friend did and you lose 10 pounds or whatever, you're like, oh my God, this worked.
It was the bread.
And then when you fall off track, because you will, because bread is delicious and we all want to eat it. When
and
you
I
fall
like
off
cake.
track, afterwards, when you gain the weight back, you're going to look at that bread directly and say it was that bread.
Right.
And so every fad diet that we go on, every time we're yo-yoing, it's just further ingraining in our minds that food is the enemy.
And not only mentally, physiologically, there is a lot of implications and complications when we're going to talk about in the metabolism course.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
That every time you diet and go into the hole and
it's all
interrelated.
Yeah.
But it all really does come back to mentally, how did you get there? How are you going to get there? And how are you going to keep this? How are you going to find your gray zone?
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't call it gray zone because gray seems so sad. It's such a beautiful place.
Yeah. But gray,
the glitter zone.
Like I painted my house gray. I think gray is
grayish,
soothing. It's calming. It's like gray is like it's not perfect. White is so crisp and perfect.
Yeah, right.
And black is kind of like just deep and dark and whatever. Yeah. But like when you blend the two together, it is like harmonious.
Yeah.
It is that place where you can live and you're
light
not.
and dark.
It's
You have
rainbows
to have
and
both.
sunshine. If I could gift every person that ever asked me to coach them, or every friend, or anybody who's ever struggled, the gray glittery zone, I would, because it is really
gray is a calm. And to me, the calm is going on vacation and not freaking out anymore if I don't go to the gym the entire vacation.
Or going so far off on that vacation that you come home and you're 15 pounds up. And how does that trigger you? I need to do cardio every day. I can't. I ate cinnamon buns every morning on vacation, and that's a no anymore. I can never have that again because I gained my 15 pounds. And doing all of these things and not having to worry.
Yeah.
It's the worry.
I was just on vacation in Aspen, and I got home, and between, the altitude, eating stuff that I normally don't eat, maybe not drinking as much water as I left for my trip, and I gained 10 pounds on the trip of whatever, just weight, like we'll call it weight. But I get home and I'll complain for a second. And I'm like, oh God, and then what did I do? I just got back to my lifestyle.
Yeah, what did I tell you? I was like, go do your runs, drink your water. You're going to be fine by the end of the week. And
I'm back. And I just do my regimen, like my lifestyle that I built. And so it's like when I was in Aspen, there was not 1 second though of that trip that I had any anxiety about what I was doing. Like I was with my kids. Like if we went downstairs and we went to the gym, great. If we didn't, it was okay. If I ate a burger, we went out for burgers almost every day. If I was like, okay, like it's fine. I'm enjoying life. I was fine. And that is the gray. That is the calm of like, it's going to be okay. Like it's not, especially if you know that you're not going to continue that way, which is the education part, knowing that, no, this can't go on forever or
Right. If I did cinnamon and burgers every single day,
every day we're down the wrong path again. But knowing that like those times are not the times that make somebody become obese, just going on vacation for 1 week and eating some burgers.
Yeah.
No, that's not what creates that. No, an entire life of doing that and a lifestyle. But knowing that like when you're back home and you have those tools and like, you know, that's the calm, knowing that like, it's okay. Like this is not an everyday thing.
Yeah. Without having to try hard. Because I see a lot
Without
of
having to
women, they gain 4 pounds traveling and it's panic mode. I have to diet when I get home. But like you were saying with the like physiological changes that happen, especially if they were dieting for that vacation and they go on vacation.
Oh, yeah.
And they gain weight and they come home and they're like, well, I just gained 10 pounds. I have to go diet again. Like your body's not ready for that. So you're going to, if you can try to diet and dig yourself into a deeper hole. And then when you inevitably go on vacation, have a holiday, have a party, something, you're going to gain 10 pounds again because something's off with your mindset and that's happening and whatever. Then they keep in that of like, oh, I gained weight, I have to diet now. Gained weight, I have to diet now. And they never let their bodies just settle.
Chill, calm down, let your body regulate. And
Women can eat so much more than they think that they can.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Because they're always post-diet.
Yeah, and when you push food on a woman, I think I have somebody on like 175 grams of carbs. She's like, "This is so much food." I'm like, "It's not. It's actually not.
It's
Like,
not.
no.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
you
and
work out like you have muscle mass. That's not a lot of food at all." But one thing I started doing in my own coaching thing, when someone comes to me to diet for like a wedding or a vacation.
Yeah.
I'll start to reverse them out of that diet a week or so before they even get to vacation. Because guess what? When I'm going on my honeymoon or I'm going on a big event or a vacation, I'm going to eat. And if I let that client go into that event in a strict calorie deficit and then they're eating whatever and not training, they're going to come out on the other side very angry about what that looks like for them. So,
and again, it fuels that food fear. If you're always post diet,
I took a vacation and look what happened.
Yeah, then you're just always dieting, and it just continues to fuel the food fear, the black and white thinking, and it's all this big cycle related to one another.
Yeah,
with that foundation of the mindset.
And like we're talking specifically about women, and I think specifically about women in their later 20s and on, because the new generation of girls that I see, I mean, I don't have friends that are in their teens or young 20s really, but these girls aren't really worried about food. They're worried about like training and eating and just generally living a healthier lifestyle than what
they're
we were
exposed to a different, like even my girls are going to be, you know, they're 11 right now, but even they're never going to be like exposed to the crap that we were, the misinformation, all that hokey stuff.
The celebrity trashing.
Yeah.
And I think people are kind of starting to see like, oh shit, I can eat. That's cool.
Yeah.
I can train hard. I can maintain a physique. I don't have to be a stick figure, which is big because we grew up like you need to look like Victoria's Secret models with no muscle mass on them.
The other day, so I had done a video responding to somebody calling me an almond mom. And so, an almond mom is back in the 80s. I think it was the 80s or whatever. The moms who were like only ate 4 almonds a day because they were like, we're dieting.
Like, what am I?
Almond mom. So somebody went on my page because I was making Devotion Ninja Creamies for all the kids and I was making them different flavors. So somebody was like, called me an almond mom because I was making my kids protein ice cream. And so then, but what was really cool was, so I made a video, I think coming back being like, how does this, you know, whatever. But the cool thing is a younger girl from like the generation you're talking about actually defended me. And she was like, she wrote, bro, she is not an almond mom. She's like, did you see the muscle on that woman? You don't grow muscles like that eating 4 almonds a day. Like eating, you know what I mean? Because it's like, if you know anything, I'm obviously not a stick figure. And like, I'm not, like when you look at my pictures and my stuff, it's like I'm holding a decent amount of muscle. In order to grow that muscle and then hold on to that muscle.
You have to eat.
You have to eat. So I'm like, no, I'm not an almond mom. Like, stop it. You know, but people will throw those things around. But
so
like,
funny.
no, like what my kids are growing up seeing, they're growing up seeing me eating big salad, lots of food. Like I'm, you know, definitely not the moms in the, you know, the 80s that were like, you know,
I'm going to eat my celery and that's it for the day.
which they did.
I didn't even know that was a thing back then, but
Yeah.
My mom was definitely not an almond
Well,
mom.
my mom was, you know, and I'm not, this is not to put my mom down or whatever, but she, again,
Your mom was a chronic dieter.
was a dieter.
Until-
Well, because she would eat a
Lately,
she would
actually.
train hard as shit with her trainer.
Yeah.
And then she would come home and have a little can of tuna and a sliced tomato. And I was like, and then
But where do you think she learned that from?
because because years ago the education, there was no social media. You only what they put in magazines, which the magazines would only tell you, it was like a lot of gatekeeping. It was like, this is her diet.
Yeah,
And it would be like,
2 shakes and a salad.
yeah.
Slim fast.
Exactly. And so then, you know, and then my mom is trying, it's like not, she wasn't raised with a mom who was into this. My grandmother, you know. So my mom's trying to figure it out. And then like the trainers back then were only really, I mean, hers were like bodybuilding style trainers. So like they were very into like bodybuilding diets that were so just like protein, like,
Yeah.
and so my mom was just trying to figure it out. She was like, okay, well, I know that you're not supposed to eat a lot. And like, you know, so, but I need a little bit of protein in my slice. So when I started educating myself, luckily it was like, I was 12 when I got into all of it. Like I really got into reading about fitness and the Body for Life with Bill Phillips and all that stuff. I immediately said to my mom, I don't think you're eating enough protein. And so she's been on the podcast to say, Dana, you've been telling me since you were like 12 years old, Mom, eat more protein. Cause I've been all about the protein. Cause once I understood like diet and nutrition, like I knew protein was something that like I had to keep up. And so it comes to education. And then now this generation, and even with that, we get social media, we get, you know, there's a lot of crap out there, but once you weed through all the garbage, you know, fortunately there are resources that have really good quality information to say.
We have the evidence and the science to back that up now.
And yeah.
And I think, I'm pretty sure you go through in your course, like you need to eat good, dense food. If you're snacking all day, then you're never going to feel full. You're going to eat all day long.
Yeah. It's called Fat Loss like 101, like best practices so that people can reach their goal.
What week
with
is that?
Everything, week 3.
Week 3.
Everything else in mind that we talked about in week 1 and 2, like with that relationship with food. Yes, stay flexible. Yes, you can still have your ice cream, like dieting, but
Vegetables.
if you want to like make that work, here's how you do the flexible dieting. Here's how you work in your treats. Here's how you eat in a way where you can stay on track. Because so many women, you know, they're doing these fad diets and they're starving and they can't stay on track and they think it's their discipline. But like you guys have said, like you're not eating the right things to stay full, to
You're allowed to be hungry. You're hungry.
That too, but
Like,
But what, and with, so I get, you know, because of devotion, I'll put out recipes. And so I do a bunch of recipes where I use, you know, the protein powder, because I believe in having, you know, adding the protein. And then I'll use like a whole egg and pumpkin and oatmeal and whatever. So it ends up being this like nice, like where it's like protein, dense meal. And so so it'll be like a whole mug cake and it'll say like, I made it with a whole egg. I made it with pumpkin. I added oatmeal. So then these people will comment, can I take out the oatmeal? I don't want to use the pumpkin, and can I use egg whites? And then I'm like, what? Why are you taking all of
you're like, no, put it in. You're going to be fuller way longer.
I'm like, I put it all in so that you're getting like this night, like there's some fats in there. There's, you know, the pumpkins in there. Like, okay, yeah, you could just eat devotion all day long just by itself. But like, I'm trying to incorporate, you know, I make my kids pancakes. I put in a banana. I put it, you know, it's like, let's put in some other macronutrients because.
So you're not hungry in an hour.
Yes.
And like how we all know we can slam a 300 calorie bar
Nothing.
In 2 seconds.
That's
2 seconds.
Yeah. I
I
didn't even remember I ate it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shoot, can I do that again?
I just wasted 300 calories when I could have
big ass meal.
a big ass meal. Did you see that? I mean, there's millions of reels that have been out that did this comparison before, but it was like I eat small, and it was one Chick-fil-A meal for
Like I don't eat much.
1,400 calories.
high calorie,
Yeah, right. And then like I eat a lot, and it was like 5 meals for 1,400 calories.
Yeah. So that's like everything has its context. Like I said earlier, like food's not good or bad. There's just context. Sometimes you might want low volume, high calorie foods.
Sure.
If your metabolism is so fast that you're making yourself sick trying to put on muscle, great. eat some Pop-Tarts and chocolate milk, like
Yeah,
whatever.
right.
But if you're dieting for fat loss and you're hungry all the time, you're not going to want to be eating.
That's what I think the
Pop-Tarts and chocolate milk.
misconception is
Yeah.
like when people say macros or if it fits your macros, that's what used to turn me off about
Yeah.
it. And they say, David,
Yes.
do you do that? And I'm like, I'm not trying to fit in a Pop-Tart. Like, I'm not trying, because for
I am.
me, it was always,
Some days.
like, for me, I was like, okay, I'm trying to I'm a volume eater. So like, I felt like certain Pop-Tarts or things like that would
yeah.
eat up a lot of my, like, I'd rather make
You have a massive appetite.
and I have a big appetite, so I like to put in frozen blueberries, and I
Yeah.
like to, I want to like make my fluff and then put all my cereal, my blueberries, my nut butter, like, and then I have this like big thing I get to eat. But like, not everybody likes to eat like that. But I also am always looking to add in the nutrient dense
Yeah.
things.
So how I kind of differentiate between that is because when I tell people like I'm a flexible dieter and food freedom and be friends with foods and eat whatever you want, people are like, wait a minute, like she's eating pizza and wings
Right.
and she's so fit. Like
The Pop-Tart diet.
I try to showcase more,
Once
but the
every other
point
month.
is like we're also putting in talking about how do these foods make you feel. Yes, you can eat whatever you want, but also keep in mind you should be wanting to eat things that make you feel your best. And if you're only eating
Yes.
a lot of high calorie, low nutrition type things, you're not going to feel good. So that's how I make that differentiation of like your food should make you feel good mentally, meaning you enjoy it, it makes you happy, you don't feel like you're missing out on anything, but also physically, you should have energy. You should be able to go to the gym and feel like you're getting stronger, and you should, feel good about yourself. You should feel like you're ready to take on your day, not sluggish because you've had
'Cause a lot of
pancakes
high
and fried
sugar
chicken
things
and
end up making me feel that way. And
or
then I
just
feel
fried
like
food.
heavy.
Like, I'm just going to stay on the
Yes.
couch. Yeah.
Yes, once I eat like that heavy, fatty meal or whatever, I'm just like, oh, yeah. But like if I eat a meal, like my big ass salads, and I put all my veggies and my guac in it and all my chicken, all my stuff, it's like I don't know, it's like easier on my body.
Yeah.
It's not like that heaviness.
Yeah.
And like inflammatory foods. We were talking on the way up here. And remember, I was freaking out because my face at the end of April or end of February, my face blew up. Funny enough, so did hers, like right around the same time.
Exact same time.
And we're like, what could that have been? She's like, the only thing I could think of was that I was drinking more whole milk than I usually do. Oh. And I said, well, I ate pizza. And then a couple of days later, I made a heavy cream sauce with heavy cream.
Interesting.
They are all tasty things. Like the pizza was great. The heavy cream was great. I'm sure her whole milk was great. But like, if you're finding that the foods that you're eating, even though you want to be very flexible and you want to add them in, it's breaking your face out or your gut feels off or you're bloated all the time, then maybe that is a food that you want to do in smaller portions throughout,
Yep.
Because the
Just because
goal,
it's
like
not-
you said, is self-care.
Yeah.
Like, the goal isn't
Even
to
though we
eat
live in like the
as much
gray,
shit as possible.
and even though we live in like the gray, pretty glittery zone, I still hate being bloated and feeling like crap after I eat a meal. It's not interesting to me at all. So that's what pizza does to me. Then I just know that I have to either take the L and feel like that and my face is going to break out if I want to eat it, or just kind of avoid that because it's not good for me. Not that it's a bad food or a good food. For me, it doesn't work.
I've been super lucky in that like certain foods don't really impact me that much. Like, I don't know if the acne was the whole milk. I still drink whole milk, but like I just eat less.
Yeah.
I was starting to drink a lot. But for me, it was always how I was eating. So I always like to talk about in the course, how we think, how we feel, and how we act around food is basically guides our behavior. So like you were saying, you don't eat foods that don't make you feel good. For me, it was the way that I was eating that didn't make me feel good. And if I was on a diet and I would have like a high carb day, we would go to a sushi buffet and I would eat, I kid you not, like 4 plates of sushi. And this is like probably like 60 pieces of sushi or something. And I was so full. I felt disgusting. I couldn't button my pants. Like I would not leave the house. I didn't want to go to the gym. I just wanted to lay down, probably eat more because I needed to start my diet the next day. So I was probably still eating for the rest of the night. But so not only do we need to think about foods and how they make us feel, but the way that we're eating and how that makes us feel. Like I cannot eat that much food anymore. I like being full, that full is like the trigger for me. Like I do not want to feel that way ever again because you couldn't even be comfortable. Like you couldn't lay on your side. You couldn't lay on your back. You couldn't lay on your stomach. Horrible.
I've been there.
And so for me, like that's how I watch myself now is less about like the foods that I'm eating and more how I'm eating them and why I'm eating them.
Bailey, you're also really big on, is it worth it?
Oh, yeah.
I have a slice of pie and it's crap. Why? I'm not going to eat the rest of that. So like, that's not good.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah,
It's shitty pie.
I used to be the clean plate person where even if it was crap, I would keep
gross.
eating it.
Yep.
And now I've gotten to the point where I'll taste something and I'm like, oh,
No
that's
thanks.
not
Yeah.
worth
I don't want
it.
that.
Yeah, and I know people like get a little weird about like, oh, well, you should eat it just not like don't avoid it just because it's high calorie. I'm like, but it's not worth it.
It's
to
not
me.
worth it.
Like if you
It's not
if you
tasty.
thought that you were out buying a BMW and it was the quality of like a $10,000 like lemon, you would be upset.
Yeah,
like you're not going to
use your mattress example.
No, I had a bad experience with an expensive mattress lately. It was the Bentley of mattresses. Anyway, I can't tell that it's the Bentley of mattresses. So I'm going to return it for something much cheaper because if you can't tell,
You can't tell, yeah.
so that's like, yeah, like I'm very into the standards of food. Like you cannot get me, if I'm on a diet or even if I'm not dieting, you cannot get me to eat like a Walmart baked good. You couldn't. Like if it's homemade, if something's homemade and it looks good, like I don't care what my diet is. Like if I want it and I'm going to eat it.
Yeah.
But it has to be worth it. If I take a bite of it, we had a cookie the other day and it was from like Jimmy John's, like a loaded chocolate chip cookie. And I was like, oh, this looks great. I don't have dessert tonight. I'm going to eat this cookie. And it was over 400 calories for one cookie. And it was a normal size cookie.
wow.
So very high calorie. I took a bite of it and I was like, like not worth it. So
Jackie, don't do that. Sorry. I saw a motorcycle. He doesn't like it.
and I think that comes with, I think it comes with dieting because like you don't know that foods aren't worth it until you do put restriction on yourself. And then if you like, you do want to correlate foods and how they're impacting your body. So you have to go through that. Like for me, it came from dieting of like, if I'm going to cheat on my diet, which I don't use the word cheat anymore, but because I don't diet like that anymore. But if I'm going to cheat on my diet, it's not going to be something that's not worth it. And then when you see how high calorie foods are, when you are tracking your food, you start to realize, oh, that's not worth it because those 2 Pop-Tarts are over 400 calories. So maybe that's not worth it, which is subjective.
This is
but
just like managing a budget.
Yeah, exactly.
Of money.
Yeah.
You know, and how you want to live your lifestyle, what you want your body to look and feel like. It's looking at your bank account and then knowing like, okay, I can afford this
Yeah.
or this
Can you
isn't
afford it
worth
or not?
or am I willing to go into debt? Like,
Yeah.
you know, for
Exactly.
this item.
Yeah.
And if it's like, no, it's really not worth it. Like
Yeah.
the purse is really pretty, but like it's going to set me back
yeah,
and I'm not.
you won't be able to afford your groceries this week or
Right.
something
So
like
it's
that.
like, no, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And I think also the fact that we all are, you know, we work out, we lift weights, once you start really investing in yourself and putting the energy in, you realize that it's like, wow, I'm like investing so much
Yeah.
into myself that to that then be feeding my body and taking steps in the wrong direction. It's like, where is that going? I'm putting in
Yeah.
so much effort and then I'm just going to like fill my body with food that's like,
That's what I mean. Like it
No,
takes
make
it
it
takes the
good,
dieting
yeah.
to learn that kind of stuff. Because I mean, when I was like younger, I would eat McDonald's all the time. Every day, I would get like a sausage breakfast burrito and a frappe, and I was like, that was my jam. And now I'm like, McDonald's. Like I can't even force myself.
You know
to eat
what's funny?
McDonald's,
We got
which is subjective
McDonald's.
again. Some people like it,
Yeah.
right? But like
We got
no.
McDonald's traveling, and I remember I used to love the 2 little burritos. Matt loves them, so he always gets them.
Yeah, they're like $1.
Yeah, right? They were awesome back in the day. And I was like, I'm hungry, whatever. I'm not tracking my food. Also, don't really care right now. And I took a bite of it, and I was like,
Yeah.
right. I have that with a lot.
that's so sad to
It's
me.
just not-
It's not worth it.
No.
But sometimes things are like,
Yeah.
Bodie offered me a piece of his crumble cookie the other day, and I just wasn't in the mood. It was like
They're hit or
random.
miss.
they are hit or
was
miss.
just-
You got to
right? And it was just like random. And I picked him up from school, and he had grabbed a crumble
Yeah, I
cookie.
don't
And he got in the
know.
car, and he's like, "Here, mom, we want this piece." And I was just like,
not
"Not
today.
no, like I'm not there right now."
Yeah.
You know, and it's not that I. Was saying no because I have a problem or something. It was just that like, I'm like, no, I just don't need that.
But
Yeah.
you guys think now we can all sit here and say, yeah, no, because our food's high enough and we feed ourselves appropriately.
I feel very
That's
satisfied.
definitely part of it.
It's definitely part of it, right?
When I'm dieting, like when I used to diet and I'd always be in the freaking deficit, I was always hungry and always setting myself
yeah,
up for
and-
binges.
and, like-
that's when my worst binges would happen, when I'm always restricting. And this is what kills me about social media was to being a calorie deficit. Everyone talks about calorie deficit. And I'm like, is that just now a buzzword for under all the freaking time? We never start about, if you're maintaining,
Nobody talks about the
If you
refeeds.
want to lose
Or
weight and you
maintaining.
want to diet, you're going to have to be in a calorie deficit. You're going to be hungry and you're going to have to control yourself a little bit. But if you want to just get to a point where like, I feel good, I look good, and no. You don't
But
have
like,
to-
how about just learning how to eat and eating at maintenance for a while?
It's
People don't know how to
beautiful.
maintain,
People don't
and
want
that's
to.
that gray area.
It's not fun.
Everybody wants to always be dieting,
Yeah.
dieting, but then it's like you're setting yourself up for,
People don't know how to maintain.
and you feel like if you're maintaining, then you're not making progress.
Exactly, that's it.
cares
Because in
then?
the fitness, in the fitness culture, I need to be over here gaining muscle or whatever the case may be, or slimming down. What's wrong with just chilling in the middle? Like,
Especially when you grow into it. Like at first, post diet, like, and you're at maintenance calories, but it's fresh. Okay, maybe you still need to be tight, and maybe you can't be as loose as you could
you
be.
can't because
But after years of being in maintenance, like I know me and Steph eat whatever we want. We have crumble dates. Like
Yeah.
come over and eat some crumble together. Like so once you experience that, like you couldn't pay me to diet right now because my food I can literally eat what I want. And I eat out. I've eaten out maybe twice in the last week already, maybe 3 times. And I eat dessert every single day because the creamy saved my life.
Yeah.
But like
the creamiest.
there's so much flexibility that women don't know about because they're always dieting and they're always post diet and their metabolism is always post diet and that food fear keeps them from ever growing into their maintenance phase to find this is worth it. Like I'm not the leanest I've ever been. I'm like 10 pounds from, I don't know, like stage weight maybe, but like who cares?
But like, is it that people just don't want to put in the work to get to that maintenance?
Yeah.
I think they're scared because that
Yeah.
post diet, they see, oh, I just gained 2 to 3
gained-
pounds
yeah.
and they start freaking out.
And
I see it. I
immediately-
hear people say
and
it.
also, I find that people think maintenance or getting past a reverse diet, eating higher calories and maintaining their weight is only an 8-week thing.
Yeah.
We're talking
This is going to be for life. You're going
years.
to maintain forever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like this is the end
take
goal.
a couple years
Yes.
and chill out because that is you're not going to miss dieting if you just take a couple years, honestly.
It's where I am now. It's been where I've been for a while.
Yeah.
I don't really change. My body hasn't really. I mean, I train to keep my because I want to
Yeah.
keep my muscles, and I eat my
That's
healthy
good for you.
diet. But also, like, I certainly like the other night. Last night I was with my mom, and then she said something because I loosely track my macros every day just to like see where I'm at, and I'm like, oh, like let's just see because sometimes I also don't want to undereat like when my life is really busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then also sometimes, and it, so it just kind of like puts me like, okay, where am I at right now? And then she said, oh, what are you doing right now? Like, and I was like,
yeah, that's the question,
nothing.
right?
Yeah.
I was like, actually nothing. Like, I don't even know. My log is empty for like weeks.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll like loosely just see like, oh, where am I at? I'll put in my meals and then I'm like, ooh, I could do a lot. I need some fats tonight. Like I'll realize like, oh, I did a lot of carbs all day. Like, let me throw in extra fats. But like, I am not on anything. I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Isn't it
working
great?
out. I'm doing my 5K program.
I'm living my life.
I'm eating healthy. I go on dates. I go on vacation. I do all my stuff. I eat with my kids. I had popcorn with Bryce all freaking weekend to where I couldn't even eat anymore. I was probably sick. So it's like I just live now.
Yeah.
But like getting there did take
A while.
a while.
Yeah.
When you want to go and do your fitness shoots, you stop
Yep.
living as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pull it back in. It usually happens a lot faster.
Yes, it
and it's a
does.
lot easier if you allow yourself
Because
to be
I've
in
been
maintenance.
eating.
Right. If you go into a diet with your maintenance calories at 1,300,
Good luck.
that's not going to go well
No.
at all. Like it's going to be so much.
Now it's like if I live in the 2,000 calories a
Yeah,
day,
you just
in
bump
there,
it down to 1,500 for
That's it.
6
For
to
like-
8 weeks, and you're gonna
not even. I bump it
Yeah.
down for 2 weeks. I'll go do a photo shoot. I am shredded. Like it does not take me
and
long.
it's so nice to be able to
amazing. It's amazing.
not to have to diet for 20 weeks.
And I'm not killing myself with all the cardio.
Yeah.
Like this morning, like my
Yeah.
cardio on
We
my
were talking
5K
about that
program
too.
was a 2-mile run. I did like 11-minute mile. I was like trotting.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like I'm not like killing myself on hours of cardio. And if I want to do it because I feel like I want to do it, I do it. If I don't, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not. And then if I miss it, I'm like, okay, like I'll do it
Exactly.
tomorrow. I reschedule it. Like
We literally were just saying that Bailey was saying, I think maybe I'll just do a little bit more cardio because I don't want to drop my food. Maybe I can move more. I'm not doing enough. I don't do anything as it is. And I was like, true. I mean, add in an extra 30 minutes twice a week. It's probably going to do the trick if you do not
Yeah. And the funny
And
thing
you're
is,
just
like,
hanging out.
because like I love moving my body. I love taking my walks. Like some days I'm like, oh, I just don't want to do cardio, but like I'll do a really long walk with Jagger.
Right.
Like it's like it's the lifestyle. It's just living healthy, knowing that these are the pillars. These are the things that you should be doing.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, it takes work to get there, and it does take the mental aspect, which is that
Allowing yourself to get there.
yes, that beautiful thing that you're doing with your program, which I think is amazing. Okay, let me just see. I want to see how much. So we only have a couple more minutes. Let's see. So just to wrap it up, because this is like an amazing topic. Where would people find this program? Like, do they go directly to you?
So you can go to friendswithfood.com and it will show you the entire breakdown of what the course is, who's it for, is it going to be right for you, what's included. Everything can be found there. And then, of course, you can follow me on Instagram.
Perfect.
And
yes, we're going to have all that.
See that too. I have like my individual coaching. So if people want to reach out, they can reach out through email or Instagram. My Instagram is FitBaileyWitt. Otherwise, I would just direct them to that Friends with Food site so they can see everything and see if it's a good fit for them.
That sounds amazing. All right, we'll put all of this information in the podcast caption, the information, the website, everything, and obviously to get in touch with Bailey or work with Team Loud or staff or anything like that. You guys can also reach out and ask some questions. But this was amazing.
Yes,
thank you so much for telling us about this. I love it. I love this program. If this program had been available, like when I really, really needed it, it would have changed my game a lot sooner.
You know what? Even if someone might not be completely ready mentally, take the course. What's it going to honestly hurt? At least you're going to come away with tidbits and more education of, oh, I really do need to get my shit together eventually. Like, there are things I need to do.
There'll always be a takeaway.
Yeah. You might not be super ready to, dive into all these mental aspects that we're talking about, but the course is really not going to hurt.
No.
Just having everything that Bailey gives a ton of information in this.
Yeah. It sounds
meant to be like all encompassing.
Yeah.
Like mental,
and you do
physical,
calls, right?
nutrition.
You like meet up?
It's a weekly like small cohort. So people, they get to see their peers.
I thought
Women
so.
struggling with the same thing. Like you're not weird for eating out of the trash.
So you guys get to meet like once a month.
Like heavy stuff like that. We've done such
Maybe
great
I should just do it as a refresher.
Seriously.
Right.
So
There's going to be something new. So
I sent,
go for it.
I think 3 or 4 of my clients to take this program because I
think
was
it's
like,
phenomenal.
you need to go. Bailey's the one. If you're really struggling with the emotional aspect of getting your life together with food, I'm not the best person for that, but she is. So I'll refer to her every time. And I sent clients like, go take Bailey's course because you're going to come out of it knowing stuff. And they have told me like, this course was great. And we did talk about throwing. Do you ever like take a bite of something and throw it in the garbage really quickly because you're like, I shouldn't be eating this?
100%.
And then
like
you go back.
destroying it.
I've gone back to get
I've gone it.
The garbage is I put soap on it.
You have to destroy it.
Yeah, you have to destroy it
100%.
or putting
Greg and I get in fights because I throw granola out and things I can't stop eating.
Exactly.
And he's like, why would you do that? And I'm like, because I couldn't stop.
So people are opening up about that in her class, and it's like, oh, you do that too? Like
when
that.
I started on week 1, I said, hi, my name is Bailey and I've eaten food out of the trash because I just wanted them to know that like you guys, they think they're alone in their
you chew it up and you spit it out.
We're the majority. Like I really think that it's most people. I mean,
it is.
Food is like this. Like you can't.
And it's so
escape it.
disordered, and it's
everywhere.
okay to talk about it.
Yeah, it is. Oh yeah. All right, guys, check out Bailey's program. I know I'm going to. I think this sounds so good. It's so for so many people. I'm going to start referring people over to it now. When people,
Thank you.
Yeah,
Honestly, if they're
I'm going
big
to now that I know
eaters
more
or
about it.
you know that they've been dieting forever and ever and ever, and they're never making any progress.
Yeah.
Or they're just like reaching for food, thinking about like, I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be doing this. Like, oh, I fucked up again. I fucked up again.
Yeah,
again. Over and over and over and over again.
Straight to her
I
course.
was perfect through the week. I fucked up on the weekend. Like, yo. Nothing gets done.
I bet you there. Oh my gosh, there are so many people out. That is like.
And we'll talk about why the yo-yoing messes you up
Yeah.
on the
next-
internal.
From the physiological perspective.
on the next episode. So join in, you guys, because next week we're going to go to part 2. So thanks for being here, lady.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks for you. Thanks all of you for joining in to another episode of Until It's Done, a devoted podcast.